I think it's certainly interesting to see that North Korea has gone even further than providing Russia with munitions and missiles. It's now providing foot soldiers. And this is a attempt, I think, by Putin to not have to go through another mobilization. It's what his military has been asking for a while now, but Putin is averse to the idea. So why not use other countries' soldiers, allegedly each North Korean soldier, or rather the North Korean government, I should say, is being paid $2,000 for each North Korean soldier, which is about $200 million. By the end of it, it's 10,000 soldiers. So it's going to be particularly interesting. I think that we can expect that the North Koreans are going to basically be used as cannon fodder, judging by their weaponry, the fact that their mortar in place. Mortar range apparently needs them to be within 2 kilometers of the front line. That's suicidal with drones. So I can imagine that they will be used as cannon fodder, and it will be another attempt to try and break through Ukrainian lines, most likely in Kursk, but probably also in Donbass as well. I mean, the North Korean soldiers are officially, I believe, are supposed to be special forces, but we don't know an awful lot about what North Korea's special forces are like. North Korea hasn't fought a war since the Korean War in 1951 to 53. So we don't know how adept the North Koreans are. We know that they have old Soviet weaponry equipment, Chinese as well, and their own North Korean developed munitions. So we can assume that they're probably not the greatest fighting force the world has ever seen, but they're probably not too bad. And I think we'll see the same in terms of what happened, what Wagner tactics were, which was to send the prisoners first. Then by that point, the Ukrainians have run out of munitions or their machine guns are too hot, and then the Russian soldiers move forward. That may well be what the North Koreans are being sent to do, which is, as I said, die. But we shall see. The fact that there have also been reports that they don't understand Russian commands means that North Korea has had to send some very prominent generals as well to try and get their soldiers, get North Korean soldiers to do what the Russians want. So this could be an escalation. If North Korean generals also die, North Korea may decide to send even more men. Ukraine has always been given enough, just enough to be able to defend itself, but never enough to win this war, which was always the wrong approach. I've said before, the slogan, support Ukraine for as long as it takes, was always the wrong way. It should have been support Ukraine to win this war, or being able to negotiate from a position of strength. It's a catchy slogan, but it should have been that to win this war as quickly as possible, ultimately. That hasn't happened. Ukraine is still trying to fight to get what it needs. NATO would simply never fight a war, and it's wrong to expect any country to fight a war effectively with two hands tied behind its back, and that's what Ukraine has been doing for the past 3 years almost. So it is certainly sad as to what's happened, and there are reports now that Germany is starting negotiations with China, India, and Brazil, and possibly Russia, to try and find a solution to this war. The Zeitenwende has run out of wind already. So the fact that Ukraine is not being provided with munitions, the ATACMS, the German missile, but also the fact that the Americans have procrastinated about the F-16 as well. So yes, it's entirely understandable that Zelensky is frustrated as to what's been going on, and the fact that in 2024, Western states, as far as I'm aware, have given 15% of what they offered Ukraine. I think it's very much piecemeal. I'm not a military expert, so it's difficult for me to say how effective a drone is in terms of taking out lots of tanks. I suspect that it's very much a piecemeal exercise. It's the best they have at the moment. The fact that they keep on asking for long-range missiles to be able to hit Russian military bases on the just behind the front lines, I think speaks volumes. The simple fact is drones will not win you a war, but Ukraine has used them very effectively, and Ukraine has certainly been very adept at using what little it's been given very, very well. And that is one of the reasons why Ukraine is still fighting and holding the Russians. I can imagine the Ukrainians will use whatever tactics they deem necessary. It will be drones, it will be the use of their own homemade missiles, which they seem to have developed as well. they will continue to fight this war. Winter is going to be tough. I believe that most of the thermal power plants are now obsolete. Russia has been targeting substations of the nuclear power stations because that accounts for 60% of Ukraine's energy. It will be a very tough winter, and 2024 has been a very tough year. We knew it would be. Hopefully, 2025 is going to be a better year for Ukraine. Well, I think a lot of it will depend on the outcome of the US election. We simply don't know which Donald Trump is going to come as president, and which Donald Trump is going to deal with Ukraine. Is it the Trump who believes he can solve the war in one day? Is it the Trump who has said that Zelensky is the biggest, I can't remember the exact phrase, but Zelensky is the biggest bandit. Every time he leaves America, he gets 100 billion. Or is it the Donald Trump who believes that Russia has overstepped the mark? That's the very quiet Donald Trump, but it has appeared before. It also depends on what type of Republican Party and who his advisors are. Now, in terms of Harris, I think she will follow the Biden protocol, which is to support Ukraine for as long as it takes and to provide it with piecemeal weaponry. There may be a change, and I'm still hoping that there will be, if Harris wins, that they will change what they will move Biden's idea of not being able to hit Russia with American long-range missiles, and that may be given to Ukraine. But time will tell. It really is a toss-up as to who is going to win this election anyway, and until the beginning of next week, we're probably not going to fully know. So let's wait until that actually happens in terms of predicting what will happen for Ukraine. But as I said, this is one example. This is another instance of it being quite a bleak winter in 2024 for Ukraine.
We continue to be greatly concerned about the partnership between North Korea and Russia. You saw the secretary speak to the fact on Thursday that North Korea has deployed as many as 10,000 troops to Russia, and that we were concerned that they would move to the front lines to enter the fight against Ukraine. As the secretary said on Friday, that as many as 8,000 North Korean troops had made their way to Kursk. We now assess that as many as 10,000 have made their way to Kursk and could enter combat in the coming days.
So we believe that there are now at least 10,000 DPRK forces in the Kursk Oblast, recognizing that as we continue to assess DPRK presence on the ground, those numbers could go up slightly in terms of the total number of DPRK troops in Russia. We've seen the press reports about alleged combat ops. We're looking into those, but at this point cannot corroborate those reports. But as you heard Secretary Austin say last week, should these troops engage in combat support operations against Ukraine, they would become legitimate military targets.